What if the girl everyone stepped on was the same girl the heavens were watching? In Lagos, a city of hustle, noise, and neon lights where every man is fighting for himself and every woman is building from nothing, there was a girl. No mother. No father. No surname that anybody respected. Just Bola. 13 years old. Living in a face me I face you compound in Mushin, with cracked walls and a ceiling that wept every time it rained. She swept other people's shops before school. She fetched water before dawn. She smiled through hunger that would make a grown man weep. And yet, everybody used her. Her auntie used her. Her neighbors used her. Even the church used her. But here is what nobody knew about Bola. The thing they threw away, God was wrapping in gold. Stay with me. Because this story will shake something inside you. Picture Mushin, Lagos. 2019. Not the Lagos of Instagram. Not Victoria Island with its glass buildings and cold air conditioning. This is the real Lagos. Where generators roar at midnight. Where pepper soup bubbles in the dark. Where a child can cry all night and the neighborhood will think it's just the wind. Bola lived in room 4 of number 7 Aledura Street, a room so small you could touch both walls if you stretched your arms wide. She had 3 things to her name. A worn-out school uniform. A bucket for fetching water. And a photograph, yellowed at the edges, of a woman holding a newborn baby. Her mother. Taken by typhoid when Bola was only 4. Her father. A man she never met. A ghost with no face. Only a name her mother whispered before she died. Emeka, she had said. His name is Emeka. He will come for you. He never came. So Bola grew up in the hands of her mother's younger sister, Auntie Peace. And if you think that name meant what it should mean, you are wrong. Bola was not your typical child. She didn't cry easily. She didn't beg. She didn't fight back when they humiliated her. She observed. She had these eyes, deep, quiet eyes that made older people uncomfortable. Like she could see something behind you. Like she was looking at something you couldn't. At school, her teachers said she was brilliant. Not average brilliant. Frighteningly brilliant. Her mathematics teacher, Mr. Hugo, a strict man from Delta State who failed students without blinking, once called her to the front of class and said, in front of everyone, This girl will either be great or she will be swallowed by Lagos. There is no in-between for someone like her. Bola looked at him calmly and said, Sir, Lagos has tried to swallow me since I was 4. It keeps spitting me out. The class went silent. Even Mr. Hugo didn't know what to say. That was Bola. Quiet fire. Still water with a current underneath. But at home, she was nothing. At home, she was Auntie Peace's house girl. Her personal slave. Her punching bag when the rent was late and the children were hungry and life felt too heavy. Auntie Peace had 2 biological children, Michael and a baby girl. Michael was 15. Spoiled. Loud. The kind of boy who wore fake designer belts and laughed at people poorer than him, which, in Mushin, required real effort. Michael hated Bola. Not because she did anything wrong. He hated her because she was better. Because even in her one uniform and cracked slippers, something about Bola made people stop and look. Something about her made teachers remember her name. And Michael, with all his provisions and new shoes, was forgettable. So one day, Michael did something wicked. Bola had won a scholarship. A real scholarship. A private secondary school in Ikoi, fully funded, for the top-performing student in their local government area. The letter came on a Tuesday. Bola held it in her hands and, for the first time in years, she cried. But not from pain. From hope. She ran home. She burst through the door. She was breathless, shaking, laughing. And Auntie Peace took the letter from her hands. Read it slowly. And then, folded it. "You're not going," Auntie Peace said flatly. Bola froze. "Auntie, but the school is free. Everything is covered." "I said you're not going. Who will help me with the house? Who will fetch water? You think I'm your house girl?" Bola stared at her. "Auntie, this is my future. Your future is here. In this house. Serving this family. Or did you forget who fed you when your useless mother died?" That night, Bola sat outside on the compound steps, underneath a flickering bulb, and she wept quietly. Michael walked past her, looked down, and smirked. "Cry more," he said. "Scholarship girl." She looked up at him. And said nothing. But something in her eyes shifted. Something ancient. Something that had been sleeping. Woke up. The next morning, Auntie Peace did something that crossed every line. She went to the scholarship board. She told them Bola was sick. Mentally unstable. That the family couldn't guarantee her stability. That they should give the slot to another child. She brought Michael's name as an alternative. Michael, who had scored average marks. Michael, who had never once earned anything on his own. The scholarship board officer, a kind woman named Mrs. Adeyemi, was suspicious. She had met Bola before. Had seen her test scores. Something didn't add up. But before she could investigate, Auntie Peace paid a man to forge a medical report. The slot was transferred to Michael. When Bola found out, she didn't scream. She didn't break anything. She walked into the room, picked up her photograph, the one of her mother, and held it to her chest. "Mama," she whispered, "is this all there is?" That night, a neighbor's daughter, a university student named Ugochi, heard Bola crying through the thin wall separating their rooms. She knocked softly. Bola opened the door, eyes swollen. Ugochi took one look at her and said, "Come. Sit down. And tell me everything." So Bola did. She talked for 2 hours. About her mother. About Emeka, the ghost father. About the scholarship. About Auntie Peace. About Michael's smirk. Ugochi listened to every word. And when Bola finished, Ugochi said something that changed the direction of this entire story. "Bola, I have a cousin who works at the State Ministry of Education. And what your auntie did, what she did with that scholarship. is a criminal offense. Bola blinked. Criminal. Scholarship fraud in Lagos State carries serious consequence. But more importantly, Ugochi leaned forward, Mrs. Adeyemi, the scholarship board officer. She called twice to follow up on your file. She already suspects something. Bola's hands stopped shaking. For the first time in days, she sat up straight. What do I do? She asked. Ugochi smiled slowly. You write a letter. Tonight. In your own hand. And tomorrow, we deliver it ourselves. They delivered the letter. Mrs. Adeyemi read it in front of them. She removed her glasses, rubbed her face, and picked up her phone. 3 days later, an investigation began. The forged medical documents unraveled within 48 hours. The man on TPs had paid, panicked, and confessed when officials came to his office. The scholarship was reversed. Michael's name was removed. And Bola's name, Bola, was restored. But here is where the story turns in a direction nobody expected. During the investigation, Mrs. Adeyemi had to verify Bola's birth records. She contacted the civil registry. And in pulling Bola's file, in doing the routine background paperwork, the name came up. A guarantor name on Bola's original birth certificate. Emeka Okafor. Engineer. Port Harcourt. Mrs. Adeyemi paused. She had gone to university with an Emeka Okafor, an engineering student from Delta State. She made one phone call. On a Thursday evening, as Bola sat outside doing her homework by phone torchlight. A black Toyota Camry parked in front of number 7 Aledura Street. A man stepped out. Tall. Graying at the temples. Eyes that were exactly like Bola's. He stood at the compound gate holding a photograph. The same photograph Bola carried. But his copy was not yellowed. His was laminated. Preserved. Kept close. He had been looking. For 15 years, he had been looking. Bola's mother had moved, changed her number, been too proud to reach out, and then she had died, and then nobody had told him. Nobody had told Emeka that the woman he loved had left a daughter behind. Bola stood up slowly. The man looked at her face and broke into pieces. Bola, he said, voice cracking. I am your father. She didn't run to him. She didn't scream. She just looked at him for a long, long moment. And then she said very quietly, the photograph. Do you have your own copy? He reached into his pocket and held it up. Same image. Same moment. Same mother. Bola walked to him slowly. And when she reached him, she didn't hug him. She just took his hand. And held it. Like someone who had been waiting in the dark and finally felt a light switch flip on. Let me tell you what happened to everyone in this story. Because in real life, consequences are not optional. Auntie Peace was reported to the scholarship board. She faced legal consequences for the forged documents. She lost her trading license, which she had used as collateral in the forgery process. The community found out. The shame was louder than anything she had ever shouted at Bola. But here is what Bola did that even Ugochi did not expect. When asked if she wanted to press full charges, Bola said no. Don't jail her, she told Mrs. Adeyemi. She has a baby girl. The baby did nothing wrong. The room went quiet. Mrs. Adeyemi looked at this 13-year-old girl and thought, this child has more maturity than people 3 times her age. Michael lost the scholarship. He lost it publicly. His school found out. His street found out. The same boy who smirked at Bola on the compound steps now couldn't look anyone in the eye. Sometimes, the greatest punishment is the one that comes without you asking. Mr. Hugo, Bola's mathematics teacher, when he had the full story, called her mother's grave heroic. He framed Bola's scholarship letter and hung it in his classroom. He still tells new students, let me tell you about a girl named Bola. And Bola started at her new school in September. Emeka, her father, the man of means, a man of guilt, a man desperate to restore what time had stolen. Enrolled her, bought her uniforms, sat outside the school gate on her first day just to watch her walk in. She walked in with her head high. Cracked slippers gone. But that quiet, ancient look in her eyes? Still there. Some things you earn in the fire. You don't let them go. Now let me speak to you directly. Because this story is not just a story. There is a Bola in every city. In every compound. In every family. The child everyone overlooks. The person everyone uses. The one they hand the hardest load and the smallest portion. And the world tells them, stay quiet, stay small, stay grateful for the scraps. But here is what this story is telling you. What is meant for you cannot be stolen. It can be delayed. It can be hidden. It can be forged over. But the hand of something greater, call it God, call it destiny, call it the universe, it is not sleeping. And more than that, the way you treat people who cannot fight back will always come back. Always. Lagos is big, but it has a memory. And finally, this. Mercy is not weakness. Bola could have destroyed Auntie Peace. She chose not to. Because Bola understood something most adults never learn, that bitterness is a prison you build for yourself, using your enemy's name. She chose freedom. And freedom looked good on her. If this story moved something in you, if you felt Bola's pain, her patience, her breakthrough, then do this one thing for me right now. Hit that subscribe button. Because every week, I bring you stories like this. Stories from the streets, the compounds, the markets, the bus parks of Africa. Stories that carry truth inside them like a seed carries a forest. These are not just entertainment. These are mirrors. And if you saw yourself in Bola today, leave a comment. Tell me, I am Bola. Or tell me whose story this reminded you of. And share this video. Because somewhere, right now, there is someone who needs to hear that what was taken from them is not gone. It is just being redirected. Like. Subscribe. Share. And don't miss the next story. Because trust me, What's coming next will keep you up at night. Bye for now.